Okay. Start. Alright. This video is to teach you tips and tricks for creating a mosaic crochet hat. In the pattern that I'm getting ready to publish, which is why I'm doing this video, I give a link to the creator of the Havana blanket, one of her videos that shows the basics on mosaic crochet, but hers is for blankets and for flat things. It's a little bit different when you have to join the rounds to make a hat, because something flat on your head is a scarf. So, and this is the reason for the video. This hat is rejected by me because I don't like the looks of the obvious seam. It just does not look good to me. I may not produce professional videos, but I like to produce a professional hat, so I never finished this one. Also, this one was done with a 3.75 millimeter hook, and since that time I have begun using, for most of the hats, whoops, I bumped the camera, for most of the hats, a 4.5 millimeter hook, or 7. Okay. Now, I am already just completing round 10, and I will start over on this next one after I join with round 1. You start over and go up for as many as you need to get the height that you need. Okay, now you notice that this single crochet here looks a little anemic, and it's kind of a modified single crochet. I did not chain 1 before I created it, and I try not to make them too tight, but you don't want them too loose and messy either. So I like to go into the back of it, and all you need are those 2 loops right there. Whoops, I split the yarn. Try it from here now. Try it with the 4. Okay, there. Get your hook in there and kind of stretch it out, and then go under. Okay, now this is the key tip. This is why I'm doing this video. To join the yarn, or change the yarns, you bring your yarn that you're leaving off all the way over underneath the hook and over the other colored yarn. Whoops, we're all messed up here. Okay, so this needs to be over, yarn over your hook and pull through. And that gives you something that looks a lot more like this than when you chain 1 first. Okay, but that's only half of the process for changing. Then, I'm going to move this over out of the way. You take your yarn that you're leaving off, and now bring it all the way over to the other side. You can kind of hold it there or whatever. It's not essential, it just needs to stay on that side. Okay, now because of that, without yarning over, I can now, if I were doing a single crochet, I'll show you that first, but it's not what I need. I need a double crochet for this stitch, but a single crochet, you would just simply go in there all the way into the fabric and up through And then if this is a little bit loose, you don't want it too loose, you don't want it too tight, but I kind of take and just not really tighten it, but make it so it's not loose. And that's my single crochet. And when I would come back around, I would just grab those 2 top loops again, just like I did here. Okay? But I need to do a double crochet, which is much, much harder to do for the very first stitch of the round. Okay, for that, you don't yarn over, you don't need to go into the stitch. You just come down here, and you may have to loosen this up and then tighten it later in order to get into the top of the stitch. And for this, I find using the next smaller hook to kind of get in there and loosen things up. And you notice I'm taking some of this down here. Whatever is there and might look messy, if you leave it, go for it. Sometimes I even might take this over here. It takes a little bit of messing around to do it, but it makes it look neater. I mean, these don't look identical to these, but they're close. And they're much better than that other way the seams looked. Okay, so I'm there. Now I can kind of gently tighten that, not too tight. Come up through. Whoops, I forgot to yarn over. So concentrating on getting underneath there. There, okay. There. Now you just do your regular double crochet. Yarn over and go through 2, yarn over and go through 2. And again, when I finish the round, I'm just going to go underneath those 2 loops right there, the top of the stitch. Okay, and now you can kind of, you see how this is loosened up? It looks like an extra stitch. That is very important not to let that look like it's an extra stitch. So now that you've already used that, you can kind of gently tighten it. Wait, it will tighten this part of this stitch if you tighten that now. And I'm pointing it out because when you come back around after you get into this stitch and before you start creating a stitch with this, you need to really tighten it. The only time you would not tighten it down is when you're going to have to make a double crochet. Because if you tighten it down too much, if you have to make a double crochet in that stitch, you're going to have a problem. You basically have to get in there and loosen it all back. Okay. So this is row 1, and it's calling for every other stitch is a double crochet, all of the odd number stitches in the pattern. So I would simply go around the whole round doing double crochet. Oops. There's stitch 1. This is 2, 3, 4, 5. And you can kind of count them in your head till you get used to it. But this round is very easy because it's basically, you go all the way around doing every other stitch, just like this one down here. Every other stitch is a double crochet for this round. And so you just alternate the single and the back loop, and then a double in the front row loop 2 rows below, and so on. All the way around. go see if this is anything that's usable.